Okay, I'm going to be talking about the consequentialist theories that maximize good. And the first one is ethical egoism. And for this one, it's a theory that the right action is the one that advances one's best interest. So this is like only looking at yourself. Whatever is best for you is kind of self-interest. The pros to this are, even though it's for your self-interest, that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be bad for others or detrimental to others. To further your own interests, you may actually be helping others. So kind of like you scratch my back, I scratch your back sort of thing, where even though you're only looking out for yourself, it could still help others. And then another pro is that most of the time the person's going to be better off cooperating with others, and not doing people wrong, because even though it's self-interest, if you do people wrong, karma's going to get you, like people are not going to be happy about it, and in the long run it's not going to be good for you to wrong others. And then some of the cons, though, once again, it's kind of frowned upon in society when you're only looking out for yourself. You don't really care what happens to other people, it's just all about you, so it's not really a good look. And then sometimes it is negative to other people, so you doing something that's only good for you could negatively affect others. And my opinion on this one is that I think it's not the best theory, but it's not the worst. So most of the time you're probably going to be doing stuff that's not really bad for others or for yourself. So like smoking, drinking, you're probably not going to do those things because you know in the long run they could give you cancer or liver problems or stuff like that. So you're probably not going to be drinking, you're probably not going to be smoking, because it's just not in your best interest. And then also you're probably not going to be murdering people either, because even if it benefits you in the short term, you're probably going to get caught, you'll probably go to prison, or other people will try to kill you. So it's just, once again, these negative things aren't in your best interest. And then in general, like most things are self-interest. So even if you think you're doing something to help others, it's probably still self-motivated. Like even a person saving a child from a fire, they still want the emotional satisfaction of saving a life. So even though you wouldn't think that's self-interest, it still could be. So it's not necessarily a bad thing. And then the second one is utilitarianism, and this is more like what is best for the greater good. So this is like sacrifice a few for the many, just trying to do the greater, what's best for all, essentially here. So the pros are that you're trying to promote good overall. The whole point of this is just to try to do the most good you can. And in this theory, everybody counts equally, so there's no one that's like worth more than the other. You're just trying to do the best for everybody. And then once again, another pro, it's just the greatest happiness for the greatest number. So just doing the best you can for the most people you can. But some cons for it is it hurts the minority. So if you're a minority, you're probably not going to be a fan of it, because while it's only hurting a few of people, you might be those few people, and that kind of sucks in that way. And then once again, you're sacrificing the few for the many. So even though you may be helping more people than you hurt, you're still hurting people either way. And then people have different ideas of what's valuable and what's good and what's the greater good. So it's kind of subjective in that way, that you may be trying to promote the greater good of what you think the greater good is, but some other people may not think that's the greater good, so that could definitely be a negative. And then my opinion on this is that there was a scenario in the book where they're saying theoretically like a doctor could cure heart disease, but they would have to like kill one person or murder one person to look at the heart to kill or to cure potentially thousands or millions of people. So I think in this scenario, I would think it's right. Like, even though you're doing something morally wrong by killing one person, you have the potential to help thousands or millions of people. So you're definitely outweighing the bad. Like, you're just doing so much more good that I think it's worth it. But I do understand how people could think it's wrong because you're actively doing something morally wrong that you know is morally wrong. And then the third theory is a social contract theory, and this is where people basically agree to rules or laws to create like a civil environment where it's not just chaotic and stuff like that. There's certain rules that you need to follow. And some of the pros to this is that Hobbes was one of the main people for this. And he thought without it, people would just be greedy, selfish, violent, destructive. Like, the world would just be chaotic because there'd be no rules. People would just kind of do whatever was best for them, mostly self-interested. So just doing what's best for them, and it'd just be chaotic. So another pro of this is that there's like a few rational people or members of society that determine what's beneficial for all. So there's a clear morally right and wrong things. Like in other theories, it's kind of subjective. This, people come together, they discuss, and then they agree on what's morally wrong and right. Some of the cons of this is that you need someone or a few people, so many people that enforce the rules. So there's certain people that are going to have power to like send you to prison or abuse you, stuff like that. So that could be a con there. And then once again, there's only a few people that have the power over everybody, and that could be dangerous. They get to decide what's wrong, what's right, and who can do this, who can't do this. So it could kind of become like a dictatorship in a sense, where there's only a few people determining what you can and can't do. And then my opinion on this one is it does help establish morals. That's probably the best thing. Like, we come together, we discussed, and we determine what we believe is wrong and right, what's morally wrong or morally right. So that's definitely a positive. But the negative is that it's just a few people have all the power, and when people have power, things generally don't go well because they can kind of do whatever they want and punish and decide what the rules are. So I probably wouldn't use this theory, just because, again, it's just a few people have all the power. And then those were the 3 consequentialist theories that maximize the good.